Icebergs, one of YouTube's latest content phenomenons. Now, unless you've been living under a rock like Patrick the Star does in SpongeBob, you should know what an iceberg chart or iceberg explained video is. And by reading the title, you should know what the iceberg video is about. Today, I compiled some of the most obscure and random Five Nights at Freddy's hoaxes and rumors that I could find online. And for the people that don't know how an iceberg chart works, well, here is a 10-second rundown. The top of the chart is very well-known information, and going down, it becomes more and more obscure. But in this case, I also gauged the chart on how scary some of these entries are. So once we start getting to the bottom of them, some of them start to become more obscure and more disturbing. You know, when I see people do icebergs videos, like they take like 2 minutes to explain it, even though it is literally a 5-second thing to explain. I don't understand why people do that, but anyways, I made this chart by compiling a bunch of hoaxes and such from subreddits, forum posts, and etc. And also another quick thing, this also isn't my first iceberg. I did my last one almost over a year ago on one of my favorite games at the time, Twisted Metal. And I actually used to post a bunch of iceberg videos and videos kind of like that before I started posting Five Nights at Freddy's content. So you guys should go check out that stuff, even if you're not interested in it. I believe it's still very informative and very interesting. So I know that not every single hoax or rumor will be on here, but I did try to find some of the most obscure ones that I believe no one really knew about. But before I do start this video finally, this video did take a bunch of time to get made, and it's one of the most proud achievements I have on this channel, as I really enjoyed making this video. So if you guys could just do me a little tiny favor and subscribe if you love Five Nights at Freddy's, it would be much appreciated. I know I'm not asking for much. You guys can always unsubscribe later if you don't really like my content, but if you do like FNAF or iceberg like videos or anything of the sort, you guys really should subscribe. But let's get into the video now. Now, I know I said a bunch of this stuff on this iceberg is supposed to be obscure hoaxes and rumors, but for the people that aren't really into FNAF, we're going to be going over some of the most common and super popular hoaxes and rumors that were very prevalent during the first couple of Five Nights at Freddy's games, just so, you know, some people that aren't that into the know about Five Nights at Freddy's could, well, get some basic hoax information and get a nice base plate. But for the OG fans, these first couple of layers might be very nostalgic for you guys. So let's get into the first layer. Sparky the Dog. Sparky the Dog is a hoax created for Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and it was said that this was the very first Five Nights at Freddy's hoax ever made. People said that there was a very rare chance that you would see this animatronic in the backstage camera, and it would function like a bunch of the other Easter eggs in this game, where there would be a rare chance to see a Easter egg on screen, kind of just like how you would see the Golden Freddy poster on your camera. It would have a very rare chance to appear. Sparky the Dog is the most known and most notably one of the most popular Five Nights at Freddy's hoaxes ever made, as even people that never played the Five Nights at Freddy's games probably know about this. And quick little fun fact too, Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, was originally going to implement a wolf-like animatronic in place of Foxy, so this hoax actually kind of pays homage to that wolf character. Main stage all stare. Now this is referencing this image, and no, this image isn't a hoax. It does exist, but well, it's kind of a rumor. Let me explain. So the people that know about this image knows what this image is and has probably seen it multiple times before, as it was featured in the first Five Nights at Freddy's 1 teaser trailer. And people just thought that this was in the actual game, but guess what? It never was. In the Five Nights at Freddy's community, this is speculated to be one of the main and only Mandela effects in the entire franchise, as people vividly remember seeing the screen during their playthrough of the game, but it was actually never in any of the games. So some people started to speculate that it was only in the mobile ports of the game and that's where they saw it from, but guess what? It wasn't there either. The picture can be found in the files in the game, but was actually never used. It was only seen in the trailer. But anyways, it's a very big rumor and hoax that this was actually in the game when it never was. Phantom Bonnie. Phantom Bonnie is a hoax animatronic that first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and people thought that this animatronic was actually in the game since there was no Bonnie in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Now, I mean, Springtrap is based off of the Spring Bonnie suit in FNAF, so technically there was Bonnie in the game, it just wasn't the one that we were all used to. But as I said, Phantom Bonnie was never in the game, but it was a very popular hoax for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Shadow Man Cam. This is based off of a popular hoax video for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 when the game first released. It was said that if you looked in the main hallway character for quite some time that you would actually see a silhouette of a Shadow Man on the camera. But the video was just a hoax and garnered a bunch of attention, which made a lot of people think it was real. But in all actuality, this hoax was based off of the puppet screen that you can see. If you let the music box run all the way down till the music starts playing and the puppet leaves the box, you can actually see the puppet hallucination on this camera. So I mean, this hoax is kind of based off a real thing, but the Shadow Man version of it isn't real. Purple Man Jump Scare. This hoax is referencing another YouTube video that got very popular for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The video was about a reported jump scare of the purple guy that you could get in the game, and this was also a very popular hoax at the time that a bunch of people probably know. Now, since people didn't know the importance of purple guy in the series yet, except that he lost some some children, this character is very ominous and creepy, and people began to make a bunch of hoaxes about him. And this was one, if not the most popular hoax about the purple guy. But in my personal opinion, I think the next hoax on this list was the most popular purple guy hoax ever. So let's get into that one. Purple guy animatronic. Everyone should know what this picture is. Even if you don't know what Five Nights at Freddy's is or never even played the game series, you guys should have seen, or well, at least know this picture. This is the purple guy animatronic. This is one, if not the most popular Five Nights at Freddy's hoax other than Sparky the dog in all of Five Nights at Freddy's existence. Everyone was making videos about this strange animatronic that would appear in your office in the same spot that Golden Freddy or Balloon Boy did. Now obviously it was never true, but this actually started a bunch of mods where you would replace Golden Freddy for the purple guy animatronic, which also helped fuel the myth and legend of this character even more. And I just want to say this hoax terrified me when I was younger. I was so afraid to see this thing in my playthrough that I almost stopped playing the game after I heard about it. I don't know why, I guess it was just very unsettling for me, and it's actually still kind of creepy to this day. Gray Puppet. The Gray Puppet is a hoax from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that was also based off of another YouTube video. Dang, we got 3 hoaxes in a row that were based off of a YouTube video. I gotta go buy like a lottery ticket or something. Anyways, instead, a very weird phenomenon happened in this video about this hoax. In the video, the audio cue that played during one of the FNAF 2 minigames that say save them plays throughout this video. As the guy is surviving throughout the night, this audio is playing in the background. And after the audio cue was over, the puppet jump scared him, but it was great. Now in the video, it made this whole occurrence very mysterious and very unsettling, as if it were normal to gameplay. And since it seemed like a very real hoax, people believed it. It actually seemed like something that could happen during normal gameplay of FNAF 2. But other than that, there's not much more information about this hoax. It's just a fake YouTube video that got very popular. Freedom. Freedom isn't a hoax, and it's not really that much of a rumor. I mean, I guess you can consider it a rumor, but it was debunked fairly quick. Now what this is referencing is when the FNAF 2 trailer came out and the jump scare from Foxy at the end of it was played, people thought that it actually sounded like Foxy was screaming freedom during the jump scare. Here, I'll play it for you guys. Did you guys hear it? I mean, if you really think about it and really tried to listen for it, maybe you could hear a hint of it, but in my opinion, it's a stretch. People thought these animatronics were trying to escape the pizzeria, and in actuality, that's not the case. People just thought that's what they said, even though it doesn't sound like that one bit. Plus, that's just reaching pretty far, especially when the trailer first came out and like people didn't know much about the game. But talking about reaching far when it comes to something in the FNAF 2 trailer, the next entry we're about to get into is also about something that was, well, a very far stretch in the FNAF 2 trailer. So let's get into it. Mike Kill All. And as I said, this is one of those things that were in the FNAF 2 trailer that people reached very far for. Mike Kill All is referencing the FNAF 2 trailer, and when this trailer came out, as I mentioned, people really started to theorize and think of a bunch of different things for the next Five Nights at Freddy's game. The hype was real, and to try and get some answers behind the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, this rumor was based off of the beginning of the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer, where if you reverse the London Bridge part of the song, you can actually hear the children saying Mike Kill All reversed. And for the people that don't know, you play as Mike Schmidt in the first FNAF game, and people thought that Mike killed all the children and stuffed them into the suits, and that's why they were attacking him in the first game. But as more games released, we realized that wasn't the case and that William Afton acted or unleashed those kids. So as more games came out, this hoax and rumor was laid to rest. FNAF 3 canceled. Now for a short bit here, people thought that FNAF 3 was actually going to be canceled, and that was because of a fake leak that was made online about the game. And well, there was also a very bad fake Five Nights at Freddy's 3 fan game that used a bunch of stolen assets from other games, including previous FNAF games. So because of all of that, it was said that the game was going to be canceled by Scott and that it wasn't going to come out. Now this isn't actually really a rumor and a hoax, at least this part isn't, because this was officially announced by Scott Cawthon that the game wasn't going to be released and it was going to be canceled. But I guess we couldn't consider it a hoax if that was the case, because while it was never canceled, we did get a fake FNAF 3 game, but I guess it really wasn't a hoax back then. Nowadays we obviously know it wasn't a hoax because the game did come out. But no, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 wasn't canceled. Withered Toys. The Withered Toys was a hoax for FNAF 3 in which people saw the first teaser for the box of animatronic parts. People thought that we would be seeing the withered versions of those animatronics. I mean, the toy animatronics weren't withered, but I mean the withered ones were withered, but that's not what I meant. I also remember hearing a hoax about the toy animatronics slowly degrading over the course of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and they would eventually become like Mangle and become withered and destroyed, but that was short-lived because it was obviously not true. Just play the game and you'll see that they don't get withered over time. Shadow BB. Shadow Balloon Boy is a hoax in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Mobile Edition, and it's pretty obvious what this hoax is about. People said that there was a shadow version of balloon boy that could be found in this mobile version of the game. And this very popular hoax image came out online of the supposed shadow balloon boy. Now, we should all know that this isn't true, but some people actually believe that shadow balloon boy is actually hidden in the files of FNAF 2, or at least the mobile version, and is still there to this day. Fake teasers. Now, I put this one here because it's a very broad subject for Five Nights at Freddy's hoaxes, and even if you haven't seen all of them, you've probably at least seen one of these fake Five Nights at Freddy's teasers. And this one is actually one of the most popular ones. This one includes a fake Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic, also known as New Freddy, and people would copy and paste this animatronic into a bunch of their fake teasers. And well, there's also another very popular one that we can't forget about that we're going to talk about in the next entry, Freddyland. Now, one of those said fake teasers was a Freddyland, and this teaser was originally for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. This fake image surfaced online sometime before FNAF 3 had its own official trailer, and people thought this was the real official trailer for FNAF 3. There was multiple theories of where this game was going to be located at, and well, this theory made people believe that it was going to take place in a whole amusement park, or well, maybe a carnival, but something along the lines of that. This was a very popular hoax image, and I bet people that never even played the game have probably seen this teaser before. Now, all of those hoaxes and rumors were fairly well known, especially among the FNAF community. Just like how I said earlier, even if you guys aren't that much involved in the FNAF community, you guys have probably seen these. Even if you're brand new fans, you guys should know about these. And I mean, I remember these also very vividly. I mean, I was an OG FNAF fan. I was a fan ever since the first Markiplier video came out about the games. But regardless of that, we're going to start to get into layer 2. These ones are pretty popular, but aren't as popular as the ones in layer 1 are. These ones are fairly well known, but also some people might not know of these, so let's get right into layer 2. Cupcake can blink. Now, as I said earlier, I was searching through a bunch of forum pages and Reddit pages for all of these FNAF hoaxes and rumors about Five Nights at Freddy's. And well, this Five Nights at Freddy's hoax actually has two variants of it. The first variant of this hoax was encountered in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, where people said you could occasionally see the cupcake blink, and you would most likely see this when you just put your camera down, and only people with a very keen and fast eye could catch it. But obviously this wasn't true. And in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the other variant of this hoax was that you could also see the cupcake blink in that game. There was a YouTube video that surfaced online of someone seeing the cupcake blink. Now, this video was obviously fake, but a bunch of people did believe it at the time. Other than that, there's not much more information to go on about this. Freddy handprint in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. In one of the Five Nights at Freddy's images, I'm not too sure which one it was. I think it might have been a mobile icon for Five Nights at Freddy's 1, or maybe something else. There was this image of Freddy Fazbear, and as you can see on this image, there's actually a slight handprint, or at least that's kind of what it looks like, on front of Freddy Fazbear's face. And now, I mean, this isn't really a hoax or rumor because you can clearly see that it's right there. But the hoax and rumor that came out about this image was that Freddy Fazbear caused the bite of 87. Now, as most FNAF fans know, no one actually 100% knows who caused the bite of 87. Most people theorize that it was one of the toy animatronics like Toy Bonnie or Mangle, but people at the very beginning of Five Nights at Freddy's believed that Freddy Fazbear was the reason or the perpetrator behind the bite of 87. FNAF 3 Free Roam. Now, this one is obviously pretty easy to determine what's fake about it. As you can see in this image above, this fake image came out when Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was about to get released, and in this image you can actually see what looks like to be free roam for Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Now, this one is actually very easy to determine if it's fake or not. I mean, it just looked really bad. It doesn't look good, and I mean, it's one of the first images to showcase something that looks like free roam. And this image was actually part of a very big Five Nights at Freddy's 3 leak that wasn't real. And in this leak, there was a bunch of supposed images that were gonna be in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, like animatronics, teasers, and etc. And even the Freddyland teaser that I mentioned earlier was in this big leak. So people thought that this was actually a real thing that was gonna be in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. And it looked like it was actually gonna take place in the first Five Nights at Freddy's 1 game pizzeria. Now, we all know this isn't true, but before the game came out, this was a very popular hoax and rumor. Chica moved the paper pal. Now, this one isn't necessarily a hoax, as no one is 100% sure about why this happens in the game. But in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you can see Withered Chica or Toy Chica standing right next to the paper pal in one of the party rooms. And people began to theorize that these animatronics were responsible for moving the paper pal. I mean, they stand right next to it, so I mean, I can believe why people thought this. And as I was doing more research about this topic, people said that most of the time after seeing these animatronics right next to the paper pal, once they put their camera down, the paper pal would actually be in their office. Now, I mean, I don't know if these accounts are true or not, but it is something to think about. Sugar the cat. Now, most OG FNAF fans know who this is. Now, there's a bunch of pieces of media that this character was in, especially like its main franchise. But most importantly, this character was used in the fake Five Nights at Freddy's 3 fan game. But the main hoax about this character came about in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In the prize corner area where you crank the music box, you can actually see a silhouette that looks like a cat. Now, no, there's not an actual hidden animatronic animatronic there, it's just a silhouette. But people did think this was homage or reference to the games. Now, I don't know if that game came out before Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or reverse, but who knows? People just thought that this was a homage or an actual Easter egg or an actual hidden character in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Salvage / Fred Shop animatronic. Now, people that watch my videos, yeah, we're gonna be talking about this animatronic again. This is like the third video that this animatronic has been featured in, but I mean, oh well, that's just how it goes. But before I tell you guys some information about it, I did make a full-length video about this animatronic that you guys should go check out. I'm not gonna go into as much detail as I did in that video, so after this video is over, go check it out. And I also featured him in a little segment in this video, so you guys should both go check out those videos after this one's over. But I will go over a quick synopsis for right now for the people that want the information on this character. But I won't go into full details, so you guys will have to watch my other video. But Salvage / Fred Trap is the name of a supposed animatronic in FNAF 3 that people thought was gonna be in the game. Now, the first ever FNAF 3 teaser kinda shows an animatronic that doesn't necessarily look like Springtrap. At least in my eyes, it doesn't. So who knows, maybe Scott redesigned the character. But anyways, people thought that the animatronic in the teaser was actually different than the one in the main game, which created the hoax of Fred Trap. But if you guys want more information, go check out my main video about it. You'll get a ton there. Yeah, I know that last entry was kind of a low ball, but oh well, I gotta get that watch time in, baby. Anyways, I'm assuming most of you guys knew a decent amount of those entries in the last layer, as most of them were fairly well known. But now, as we move on to layer 3, we start to go into some of the more forgotten hoaxes and rumors about FNAF. But if you're an OG fan, you guys should still know most of these anyways, so let's get into it. Puppet TV screen / possessed plushies. Now this one's actually kind of popular. Well, I mean, I guess it's a tad bit forgotten, but this image leaked online shortly after FNAF 2 was released. And as you can see, all the plushies on the desk have white dotted eyes as if they were possessed, and the screens behind them have static on them with the puppet on screen. Now I can't originally find where this image was posted at, but I'm assuming that the post caption or something along the lines of it was that this was a rare Easter egg that this person encountered. Because I don't know where else you would find something like this other than if it was an Easter egg. But no, this isn't true, but it would be kind of cool if it was. Cupcake is a camera. Now this one's pretty obvious. It was speculated that in FNAF 1 that the cupcake was actually a camera to spy on you. Now, I mean, who would be watching you though? The theory probably didn't get along that far because, I mean, like, it just doesn't really make sense. I mean, maybe, like, you know, it's a hive mind and all the animatronics can see, you know, blah, 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 blah. I don't really know. But, you know, that's probably because it's a far-fetched and kind of obscure theory. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe it really is a camera. Also, I guess this theory also kind of goes along for every FNAF game that has a cupcake in it. But, I mean, this one was particularly for the first one, but, you know, it could be included into every other game. So, I really don't know what else to say about this one. Bite of 87 cutscene custom night. Now, I also actually featured this hoax in another one of my videos. And that video is the most forgotten FNAF hoax video. But I will also give you guys a quick synopsis, just like how I did for the Fred Trap entry. But anyways, this hoax started in FNAF 1 and existed actually before the Golden Freddy Easter egg, in which you would put 1987 into the custom night menu and you would get the Golden Freddy cutscene. So people speculated that if you put this code in that you would actually get a cutscene of the Bite of 87. But Scott actually caught wind of this rumor and then proceeded to put the Golden Freddy Easter egg afterwards. People also thought that this was an Easter egg in FNAF 2, but I won't go into detail about that here. You guys will just have to watch my forgotten hoax video after this one. Golden Freddy poster in FNAF 2. This one's very self-explanatory. People speculated that in the prize counter corner that one of the posters on rare occasion would change into Golden Freddy and will work the same way as it did in the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, where you would see it on rare occasion once you open the camera. Now obviously this one isn't true because I'm pretty sure a bunch of people would see it, especially with how many times we have to open and close the camera throughout the nights to do the music box, but who knows, maybe it's actually in the game somewhere. It's not. Withered Bonnie with a face in FNAF 3. This one is also very self-explanatory. People thought that Withered Bonnie would be in FNAF 3 somewhere, or at least a phantom version of it would be. And people speculated that he would be in the game and would have his face, unlike how he is in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And there was a leaked image of Withered Bonnie with his face in the fake FNAF 3 image leak. But I don't know why people would have believed it, because the image looked really bad and low quality and just didn't look realistic. But I mean, I guess those FNAF fans were really desperate back in the old days. Nightmare JJ Easter egg in FNAF 4. Just like how JJ shows up in FNAF 2, people speculated that since there was a Nightmare Balloon Boy variant, that there would also be a Nightmare JJ. Now this one was actually a very believable hoax, as the images that were online of this hoax looked very realistic. And for the first time in this video, I would say if you believe that this hoax was real, you weren't the only person. I mean, I guess, you know, the Sparky the Dog hoax was very believable too, but that's not the point. As hoaxes started to become worse and worse throughout the game franchise, it was very rare for a hoax, especially from FNAF 4, to be so believable. I mean, just look at these images. They're actually really good, especially for a hoax that was all the way in FNAF 4. Pair of eyes in Balloon Boy. In FNAF 2, when Balloon Boy enters your office, people looked very closely into his mouth and saw, well, what looked like to be a pair of eyes. Now, while looking at it, you can actually kind of see eyeballs. And while people believe that Balloon Boy was stuffed with a child because of this, but I mean, look at how thin his neck is. I just don't think that'd be possible. Plus, bro is too short and stubby for a child to be stuck in there. But this isn't really necessarily a hoax. I would say this is more of a rumor, because we've actually never got a confirmed reason of what was inside of Balloon Boy Boy to make this weird shadow or, well, whatever this is. Chrome Freddy. Chrome Freddy was a hoax for FNAF 3 created by the very popular YouTuber Jimothy. And well, I'm not gonna go into detail, I'm just gonna show you the video.
After a while, if you just dick around with the cameras, eventually Chrome Freddy will come and put you in his mouth. It's totally
FNAF 3 troll game Springlock music. Yeah, this title's a little bit confusing, I know, I made the Iceberg, but I'll explain it. So since FNAF 3 was supposedly leaked and cancelled, Scott made this troll game, and in typical Scott fashion as well. And as his FNAF fans believed, it was gonna be the real game, and it wasn't. But anyways, that's not the point. The main menu music for this troll game was actually originally the music that was supposed to be used in FNAF 3. And well, this music is actually very disturbing. Now, one of the rumors that revolved around this strange, disturbing menu music was that the game was actually going to take place in a sewer because it sounded like dripping water and something that you would hear in a sewer. But my own personal opinion and theory on this topic is that it's the sound of William Afton after being springlocked and dying alone in the safe room. Here, take a listen and tell me what you think. Does it sound like a sewer or a spring lock? I mean, it could sound like both. In my personal opinion, I'd like to believe that this is what it sounded like after William Afton was spring locked. Now, as we move further down the iceberg, I hope that you guys didn't know most of the entries on that last layer, because some of those were actually kind of obscure and, well, weren't that very well known. I mean, some were, but most of them weren't. I kind of tried to go in the middle there, where some were obscure and some were also really well known. But now, as we move down, we're going to start to get into some of the more obscure ones and some of the kind of disturbing ones. I had to look pretty hard for these ones, so I hope you guys don't know these ones that much. Puppet TV screen / possessed plushies. Wait, didn't I just do this one? Oh, I guess I put it in twice. Whoops, my bad. Here's a cookie instead, my bad. Bad's Bunker Theory and Sister Location. Now this rumor / hoax / theory came in 5 Nights at Freddy's sister location. After people found out where the game was taking place at, in an underground facility, people thought that the game would actually take place in a post-apocalyptic world. And people thought that Freddy Fazbear Entertainment actually started to make bunkers, kind of like how Vault Tech does in the Fallout games, if you know what that is. Obviously, that was kind of a stretch, but some people did believe that this game was going to take place in one of those Freddy Fazbear bunkers during the apocalypse. Now, other than that, I can't find any more information on it now, since every single piece of information I find is just about people clowning on this theory. But I do remember this hoax / theory being very popular when FNAF sister location was announced. 6666 custom night kitchen camera. It was rumored that if you put 666 in the custom night menu and start the night, you would actually be able to see the kitchen camera. And while since in FNAF 1 you can't see the camera, people always wondered what was in there. People wondered if the Golden Freddy was in there, or who knows. But no, this one obviously isn't true. Funtime Chica. Now this hoax isn't actually based off of the real Funtime Chica. This hoax is about a fake sister location teaser that included a Funtime Chica design. The image on screen, as you can see, is what this hoax was. But when the first couple of teasers started to come out for sister location, this teaser was very believable at the time. But who knows, maybe it's the reason we have the Funtime Chica that we have today. Nightmare Spring Bonnie. In 5 Nights at Freddy's 4, people thought that Nightmare Spring Bonnie or Nightmare Springtrap was in the game. This hoax and rumor became popular after the Halloween update came out and introduced a bunch more Nightmare characters, which people thought that this hoax was one of them. There's some hoax images online, but they're not really that good, and I don't know what made this hoax become a thing or just why people believed it in general, but yeah. Flip Trap. Now this one's actually kind of interesting, and this is one of FNAF's most recent hoaxes. And well, it's one that actually a bunch of people kind of believe, despite of how recent it is. Now before I get into it, I tried to find a bunch of information on this, and I really couldn't. I couldn't even find any pictures of this hoax online except this one. But from all that I could gather, Flip Trap is a fake animatronic that was based around Burn Trap, or maybe it was Glitch Trap, I'm not really too 100% sure. But anyways, this hoax was based off of one of these animatronics, and was a cut version or alternative version of it. Now I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I do not know if this is true or not because I couldn't find that much information online about this, so if I got any information wrong, which I'm pretty sure I did, please tell me in the comment section below as I want to know more about this hoax. Shadow animatronics are night guards. This is a theory for FNAF 2, and it's about the shadow animatronics, obviously. This is one of my personal favorite theories as this one could be plausible. This rumor just states that the shadow animatronics are hallucinations brought on from dead night guards that worked previous shifts and died, or are just souls of dead night guards and etc. Now looking back, this could be true, which makes this theory / rumor way more interesting, and it's still pretty cool to think about, and was way more popular when the game first came out. Real life Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now everyone should know about this hoax, and I don't know why I put it so far down, but oh well, I guess I did. Just ignore that. But this hoax is very easy to explain, as an image surfaced online shortly after the first FNAF game came out. And well, this is it. I bet all of you guys have seen this image at least once. People thought that this was a real image, and well, I mean, who can blame them? Springtrap is Golden Foxy. Now Now this hoax slash rumor is talking about the first Five Nights at Freddy's 3 teaser. As I mentioned in the earlier entry, Fredtrap was a hoax revolving around the first Five Nights at Freddy's 3 teaser, as no one knew who Springtrap was or what animatronic it was based off of. So some people actually believe that this was a version of Foxy that was golden. Now this hoax died out pretty quickly, especially after the Fredtrap theory started to come around. But I would say that some people did believe this for quite a very long time, and there's even a little bit of fan art about this character, which means it did get a tiny bit popular even if I've never heard about it until I did research for this video. Well, I hope you guys learned about some new hoaxes and rumors in that layer because, well, I know I did. Now some of those entries are pretty creepy and honestly kind of unsettling and disturbing. I know the first couple of layers didn't have that many creepy hoaxes involved in them, but now we're going to start to get into some of the more weird, strange, and kind of disturbing entries on this list. So let's get into them. FNAF 4 took place in a museum slash auction house. This entry brought back some serious memories. This rumor slash theory was about where the FNAF 4 game was going to be taking place at. And after the first Five Nights at Freddy's 4 trailer came out, people started to think that these animatronics were in an auction house or auctioned off to the player's house. I mean, in the first trailer, you can see a house and the animatronics are roaming around in it. So people believe that some people bought these animatronics either as memorabilia or etc. And well, they were still possessed and were still coming to kill you. Another popular version of this hoax is that the game was going to take place in a museum. Now this version of the hoax came out before the trailer came out, because as we can see, the game took place in a house from the trailer and it just wouldn't make sense. But when the first couple of teasers were posted on Scott's website, people were really into that idea that after the third game when Fazbear's Frights got burned down, a bunch of memorabilia was getting auctioned off and sold, which is why the game took place in a museum. Now imagine that, like a night at the museum game, but instead of it being related to the movie franchise, it was all Five Nights at Freddy's. The idea is very unique and I feel like would run pretty well with the storyline or for its own unique side storyline. I don't know, but this is one of my favorite theories slash rumors that I kind of wish was experimented on in more fan games or in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise in general. Screw security breach, put that stuff in a museum, make the story around it being auctioned off and it still being haunted, and boom, that would be a terrifying game. Mic Trap. Before Springtrap was confirmed to be William Afton, people actually thought that the corpse inside was Michael Afton, and people called this hoax version of Springtrap Mic Trap. Well, there's actually another version of this hoax that is more popular and well known than that version, and that version of the hoax is when you get stuffed in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Some people named this animatronic Mic Trap, especially after FNAF 3 came out. People thought that this was almost like the same thing as Springtrap, except just a different animatronic suit. And it would have been the same thing basically, puppet reflection in window. Now this one doesn't have that much information around it except a simple image. In Five Nights at Freddy's 4, you could see on the right hallway there's a window, and while looking out the door to see the hallway, once you flash your flashlight on, people thought that you could actually see the puppet outside of the window. And well, let me just show you the screenshot. I mean, you can kind of see an eyeball, you can't really see anything else, but I guess I do understand where these people are coming from. Maybe it's true, I don't know, it's a bit far-fetched, but you never know. It could have been foreshadowing Nightmare Beyond in the Halloween update, but honestly, I think that's stretching pretty far too, so I don't know. You'd have to escape after every night in FNAF 3. Now this is an awesome hoax, and I really wish this was implemented into one of the games somehow. Now I don't know why people thought this was a thing, especially since this hoax was only just for Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but before the game came out, people speculated that you would actually have to escape Fazbear Frights every night to beat the night. So you would do your shift, and then afterwards you would have to escape. I mean, I guess this rumor and hoax could go for any Five Nights at Freddy's game, but apparently this one got super popular for FNAF 3, and while I think people just wanted to have a free roam game at that point, it's still a very unique hoax, and I wish this was implemented onto one of the games. Freddy goes through doors. Do you hate when you're playing Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and Freddy jump scares you from seemingly out of nowhere? Well, what if I told you that he is actually an omnipotent being that can teleport through doors? Well, that's what some people thought for Five Nights at Freddy's 1. People thought he could just simply teleport through the door. Yeah, I kind of put this one as a joke entry. Some people did actually believe it for a short amount of time, until it was just, you know, obviously debunked immediately after because he can't teleport. Now, you know who can teleport? Golden Freddy. But no, it wasn't about Golden Freddy, it was just about normal Freddy. So yeah, I don't really know. Owner of restaurant named Freddy. Okay, now we're getting to some OG theories for the first FNAF game. Before any major lore was set into place, people speculated that the owner of the restaurant was just named Freddy, and named Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria after himself. It's a very simple rumor slash theory, but we all know it isn't true anymore, but yeah, it's just something that people thought of. Withered Bonnie had a skull inside his head. This one is just what it says. People said that you could see a skull inside of Withered Bonnie, but I mean, I just can't see it. Maybe you guys can, I don't really know, but yeah, I don't see anything, so I don't know. Freddy is advanced AI. This one's an interesting one. In Five Nights at Freddy's 1, people thought that Freddy Fazbear was actually a very advanced AI, and the reason people believed that is because he wouldn't move until the later nights. So some people said that he was actually analyzing how the other animatronics move and how the player played the game, and after he analyzed all that, he would begin to strike and attack during the later nights. Now this is a really good theory actually, and for the first couple of games this is actually kind of plausible, especially when Five Nights at Freddy's 2 came out, and the phone guy mentioned that the animatronics had a criminal database built inside of them. So I mean, it isn't that far-fetched, but lore-wise, yes, these animatronics are very ahead of their time for what they are capable of. But gameplay-wise, no, Freddy cannot actually track what the player does throughout the previous nights, and does not plan his attacks accordingly. But it would be very terrifying if he could. The Living Tombstone songs are canon. No, they're not. It'd be pretty cool if they were, but no, they're just not. People believe that they were because Scott did acknowledge these songs and said what his favorite one was a very long time ago, but for some reason people thought that this meant they were canon, but no, they're not. Now, I hope most of you guys didn't know about those previous entries, as those ones are super obscure and aren't known about at all. But now, we're getting into the final layer. A lot of these were based off of actual hoaxes and theories about the games, but 2 of these entries I actually made myself, so you'll never see these hoaxes anywhere else on the internet, until well after you see this video posted, and then boom, you'll see these ones on the internet, but you know what I mean. So throughout this layer, I want you guys to try and determine which ones I made up and which ones I didn't. You know, let's have a little fun with this last layer. But anyways, let's get right into it. They hide your body and never tell anyone. Now this one's kind of getting in the creepypasta territory. This hoax is about a supposed minigame of the crying child, and how what was inside of the locked box at the end of FNAF 4 was the body of the crying child. Now the main premise of this supposed minigame was to play as a character carrying the crying child's corpse to the box and hiding it away forever. Supposedly this minigame was supposed to be very brutal and very bloody, but well, it was never in the game, but some people believe that that was what was hiding inside of the box. Based on real life, this entry is talking about the first ever game theories video about Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and how MatPat related the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 to an actual real life at a Chuck E. Cheese. Now, to not talk in bad spirit about the victims or about the whole situation in general, just note the theory is not true. It was quickly debunked, and especially looking back on it, it just doesn't make any plausible sense. I guess it could kind of correlate and make sense to the first game, but after all the new lore, we obviously know this isn't true. And this one's so far down not because of how obscure it is, but because of how disturbing it is. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch the first Five Nights at Freddy's game theories video and you'll understand. Freddy Fazbear's has a basement. Have you ever played the first ever Five Nights at Freddy's map in Gary's mod? Now the reason I'm asking this is because this map has a basement in it, which made people speculate that there was actually a basement in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria in the first game, and it was located somewhere in the back room off camera. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have footage on screen of it, so don't worry about it. People speculated that this is where William Afton would lead the children to game end them, and that he would hide their corpses in the basement before he could stuff them. Which I mean, if the basement was just connected to the back room and hidden off a camera, no one would ever suspect anything or see anything happen. Just lock that door and boom. And some people actually speculate that Golden Freddy, instead of being in the kitchen, was hidden in this hidden basement area. In the Gary's mod map, this is where the generator for the power supply is at. So a bunch of people actually correlated these things and thought the basement was actually canon in the real Five Nights at Freddy's 1 game, but we'll never know because it was never denied or confirmed. Scott Cawthon sold his soul. Would you do whatever it takes to become successful? Do you want to become a famous singer, actress, musician, model, or etc.? Well, some people might want to choose a different career path, and that goes without saying that Scott Cawthon might have been one of those people. After developing games for many years of his life and having all of them fail tremendously, Chipper & Sons Lumber Co. was Scott's final game before he retired, as all of his other games failed, including this one. And after getting a bunch of hate and bad reviews on this final game, Scott finally snapped. He couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to retire but knew that he couldn't. He wanted to go out with a bang. So Scott made a deal with the devil and sold his soul to become the most popular indie game developer ever. And getting into a depressive state, he finally went with it, and feeling inspired by one of the hate comments telling him the characters in Chipper & Sons Lumber Co. looked like animatronics, he used that inspiration to make Five Nights at Freddy's. And with little to no support or any money coming in to fund the game, he went all in. And immediately after the release of the game, it became one of the most popular indie games and games in general. Now, why do you think this happened? Well, because Scott Cawthon sold his soul. Or well, at least that's what some people think. How do you get overnight success like that from developing a stupid little video game? Did he get successful because his game was innovative, terrifying, and unique, or was there something else going on behind the scenes? Some people say that he did sell his soul, but I guess we'll never know. FNAF 4 based on Scott Cawthon's house. While developing Five Nights at Freddy's 4, people speculate that Scott actually used real floor plans of his house. I mean, not exact replicas, because what room has 2 doorways that lead to a hallway, but some people believe that he used a real life inspiration in his own house to actually develop the rooms, hallways, and etc. And same with the minigames. People said that he used the same floor plans for the FNAF 4 minigames, including the crying child, who actually developed the layout. I mean, I guess we'll never know, but this is a very plausible theory, and it would explain why the pictures in the hallway are of his real life family. Congratulations, you survived the Five Nights at Freddy's hoax and rumor iceberg. And most importantly, you survived the final, most terrifying layer of the iceberg. Now put your bets down on which 2 hoaxes were mine that I've made up. I'll give you a couple seconds, alright? Alright, do you got your bets placed? Well, I made up the final 2 entries. I know, those are pretty good ones, right? But I do hope you guys enjoyed this iceberg. Please let me know if I did get any information wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you love Five Nights at Freddy's.